Welcome back, everybody, to our energy tips for week 47, that is 17th till 23rd of November 2019. I'm calling this energy update stepping into your own authority, and that for good reason. We will see that this week here is quite interesting on many different levels. The intensity levels will go up, guys. This is a turbulent week ahead of us here, from this sort of marinating in our core stuff into the outer expression. There's a very, very strong activation that you will feel, and this is good news. It will first come with a little bit of chaos here in the beginning of the week, shocking things, maybe eye-opening things, things that you really, really weren't aware of, or that are sort of literally steering the boat. But then too, it's the end of the week. Next weekend, we are looking at one of the most beautiful weekends actually of this year. So, you could say, of course, that this cataclysmic or cathartic energy that is coming in here through this collapse of the old really, really opens up new doors. So it will feel like an activation, like a download for you, and really showing you who you are and reinstating the faith in yourself, actually, which is something that many of you have been working so hard for, that it will begin with a new sort of timeline for you, really. That all these years that you have been struggling with the blocks and the unseen things, the subconscious stuff, and trying to find who you truly are, trying to find the confidence to express who you truly are, really going into this higher expression of yourself and finding the worth in that, the value that you can have for others, either expressed in relationships or through work and through money. This translated self-expression, all right, that this is now starting to grip. So everything that you felt, was still holding you back, or where you could online observe yourself going back into the same loops over and over again, is finally coming to a close. If you can allow this, if you step into this self-responsibility that is needed to grow into this true self of yours, this wonderful true self of yours. Okay, so you're gonna have to look at some of the things in your life that are aligned to your ego self, and as it's the amount of resistance that you bring in there that makes this either an inspiring, sort of enjoyable process, or a painful process. But I want to encourage you really to use this time here now, because it comes with a lot of support. It will bring so much more courage in for you to face some of these things. And as it's like a trampolining. So once you've looked at one thing, or once you've recognized that avoiding things just creates more resistance and therefore more pain for you, you'll feel much more empowered to take on new tasks, or the next thing that needs to come after that. So it's in this decisiveness, really, into saying, okay, this is it, I've had enough of this ever repeating stuff. I really want to step out into my higher expression. And the promise that I can send you here with this energy update and the energy tips is that you're gonna feel a lot of surprising support. Okay, it's like you have to make that first step so that these supporting energies can come in. The only thing that I see here overall as a big challenge, besides of course all the drama and the chaos that is going on outside of us, all right, that it continues here, sort of people going into even more fanatism, and politics going into even more craziness and nuttiness, and the narcissists are going into even more narcissism, all right, is your fixation on your mind. Okay, so there are some things that really mess with your brain, guys. There's a huge sort of dopamine trap around all these things that are bombarding you, and that doesn't just happen from the outside in. This also happens from the inside out. So fixating on your mind and engaging in this mind porn, like where you constantly sort of visualize or fantasize or futurize, or even going back into the past, all right, really, really messes with your ability to implement or to manifest who you truly are. It's not based on your true self. So weeding out some of these things that are not in alignment with your true self is still, the biggest task for all of us, for each and every one of us, all right? The only relief that we can really find is through actions, through decisive actions, through saying, okay, I'm trying something new. I might not know the correct or the only or whatever, the best way, but I'm trying something new, because if I'm continuing doing the same thing over and over again, I'm going to end up getting the same results. So look forward to this new adventure that is coming in, and don't be afraid of this intensity that is coming in here right now, okay? It will end up leading you to a deeper level of inner connection, and with that, a deeper level of remembrance. And remembrance in the sense that it brings back the faith in who you truly are. But let's look at how this translates into all these different layers here of our being, all right, starting out with the collective, and then looking into the energy centers that it affects, and then going deeper into the physical, emotional, mental, social, spiritual, and energetic aspects that I would like to point out for you here for this week. Collectively, you can imagine all these things that I just said, they will translate in a way that is already going on. It will lead to more escalation and to collapse of some of these, sort of fake identities, fake news, fake things. So this will continue. So the propaganda that we're seeing here playing out in our media, this will continue, but it will be so obvious, okay, that in more and more now people are choosing the source of where they want to get their information from, and that's a good sign, because that means that we are starting to discern information more. However, though, overall, the way people process this that don't actually have these tips and don't actually engage in self-reflection, is that we're still going to see a lot of fanatism, as I called it earlier, and it feels very eruptive here throughout the week. So I've also seen things with the Earth's crust that is always an indication for me that we can expect maybe volcano eruptions or earthquakes again. And again, I'm seeing these earthquakes for this year, particularly in areas where there normally aren't earthquakes. So nothing we can do about this, but I just want to bring this in. So this eruption is sort of the cataclysm that is needed to finally get relief. All right, so don't see this as a scary thing or as a negative thing. The chakras involved here this next week will be primarily and continually our first chakra, now though in a less powerless way. We've had plenty of weeks here to deal with some of the core inner child stuff and karmic stuff, so it's becoming more aware to us. So it's the 6th and the 7th chakra that is now finally connecting with our first chakra, so that we can actually see the larger picture and make meaning of things. All right, so meaning is a keyword, a big keyword here for this next week. Also, what we will feel is a lot of stuff going on in our 5th chakra. So it's 1st, 5th, 6th, and 7th that you have to look out on. If you are still dealing with 2nd chakra stuff, which is also coming in, this is your emotional processing, all right, then you most likely still in an active block, okay, and even more so for you, an invitation, to start something new, to do something differently, to choose new things to explore and discover what helps you to get out of this. Now, physically, the way this will translate is, that we need to understand that this is a deep, deep transformation that is happening here in our collective, individually as well as, overall. But it really does actually have an effect on our entire physical structure. So the physical changes that we are undergoing right now, no matter what age groups we are, a very, very deep, all the way down to our mitochondrial DNA, or our genetic programming. But we will mostly feel this actually in our skeletal structure. All right, so joints and bones and so forth, and this is really important for resolving some of these first chakra aspects, because they have to do with our mobility, they have to do with our stance in life. And this is not something that just happens in this next week, but you will pay more, or hopefully pay more attention to this over the course of the next 12 months, because this is actually how long it takes to renew every single cell in your bones, even your teeth. It's amazing, isn't it? So every single bone cell that you have right now will be renewed, will be replaced by a new one within these next 12 to 14 months. And I want you to do this consciously, all right? I want you to do this in a way that you can literally restructure your own entire skeleton and muscles and joints and so forth that are around it. Okay, so in a way, this is a time of detoxing and of sobering, of cleansing, all right? Not just physically, but it has to translate into the physical as well. So I strongly, strongly recommend you that you make food choices, for instance, that help your body to cleanse, but also that increase, the vibratory rate of what you are ingesting. And we just recorded, we just had a beautiful live stream here, High Vibe Nutrition Part 1. And watch this video here if you want to get the principles of high vibe nutrition. There's going to be a second part next Sunday where we go into the more habitual and behavioral aspects of that. Emotionally, this next week brings still a lot of this complex trauma that many of us have, these responses, these complex trauma responses, into the foreground. Okay, and some of you, I won't diminish this, go through the severe terror right now, and agony internally, and not knowing what's up and down. Okay, if you are in such a place, all right, know that this is not how it's going to be. All right, it's just really just a matter of time for you, until you get this impulse, which is very, very strong in this week, this download or this activation, to step out of this. All right, so hang in there, guys. If you're feeling really desperate for solutions, they're going to come in, but remember that you have to make the first step. Okay, so this sobering and this cleansing and so forth also has to happen on this emotional level. Okay. Now, mentally, I've mentioned this earlier. It's really important that we recognize and also become a bit more honest there with ourselves, how much we actually focus on our thoughts, and how much that actually creates sort of inner stress. It's a continual battle, power battle within us, that sort of goes against the reality that we experience and the ideal how we want it to be. And that's where, sort of the fundament of internalizing and externalizing our powers gets decided. All right, if you engage in this inner battle, in this inner conflict, of like, I don't like reality and I'm going against reality, okay, because it doesn't match up with how I want it to be. You can imagine that this is a lifelong battle. This is lifelong suffering. Okay, so if you want to have any kind of progress, which would be, the proof for your mind, that there actually, that there actually is a betterment, okay, then you need to look at the things that could actually tell you that you're progressing. How do you know that you're progressing? And this is where you can identify the idealization, that your ego mind does. If you are, sort of living in say poor conditions, and your ideal is to have $1 million on your bank account and live in a big mansion, well, then it's of course disappointing that the reality doesn't provide that for you. But instead of going against it, it'd be much smarter to actually do the first step to work towards it. If the work that you work doesn't pay you much, or doesn't allow you to accumulate any more money to make a change in the future, then you have to become creative. You have to find better ways of making money, or add something to this. Okay, but the creativity can really help you with overcoming this inner battle. And basically a curiosity, rather than constantly judging how things are. Okay, this resistance that you have in there is really, really tiring and lowers your overall energy, guys. So I can't even stress this enough, how this mentalizing and looping in your thoughts and emotions, how that lowers your energy, and with it your manifestation power. Okay, this is will hopefully become really, really aware to you in this week. Okay, in your relationships, socially, all right, you feel some of all these things that I mentioned above, and it's important that you observe how this translates, how you translate this into your relationship. Okay, there's this overall feeling of jealousy or suspicion right now, that what they're saying is not true, or it's kind of weird. Do they have a different agenda, and so forth? So my tip for you, instead of again, it's the same principle here. Instead of resisting what they're saying, or questioning what they're saying, go within and ask yourself, okay, how do I know what is true? All right, and then the next question is, of course, how do I know that what I'm thinking or how I'm seeing things are true? Okay, and instead of going into this endless loop of trying to prove that something is true or false, my recommendation for you is that you actually go in and really pay attention to your own untruths. All right, and the first way to learn this is, of course, you can talk about this if you have friends, if you have partners that are helpful and supportive and honest in this. But the first thing that you can do with yourself is to actually weed out the things that you already know are not true. Okay, that you already know that don't represent who you are. Just stop that. If you found out that gossiping really makes you feel bad, then stop gossiping. You just don't engage in it. You don't have to judge others who do this. You just walk away, or you just don't say anything. Okay, this is the first step. Okay, later then you might want to just not be surrounded by those people anymore. And if you work in an environment where there's a lot of negative energy around you, not just gossiping but other things as well, overpowering people, bullying people, or something like that, then recognize this for yourself, that this isn't what you want to surround yourself with, and come up with a strategy how you can leave this job, or how you can leave this relationship, so that you no longer have to be untrue to yourself. Being untrue to yourself is basically what blocks that connection with your true self, and therefore also your higher manifestation abilities. So to get into this place where you can actually have more faith in your own true self again. All right, and this is the bridge here for me to the spiritual aspects of this incoming week. You have to really be willing to look at the untruths first, okay, within yourself, and where you've been externalizing all this. Spiritually, this is a huge, huge subject, because if you're aligning yourself to things that are intrinsically untrue, okay, be it spiritually talking now, to certain schools, or to certain entities, or to certain beings, or to certain theories, or whatever, you're literally blocking the connection to your true self with this. Okay, and there is nothing in this world that could change that, other nobody in this world who could change that than you yourself. If this is all just based on performance and how you look like on the outside. Your inner spiritual feedback, okay, will not be expansion. It will be contraction. It will be more judgment. It will be more performance. It will be more stress. Okay, so whatever these spiritual practices are that you're doing, they need to be in alignment with where you want to go. And if you want to have a deeper connection with your true self, if you want to have a deeper connection with the divine and source, if you want to manifest higher goals, goals that are for the benefit of yourself and the whole collective, all right, then it's really important for you to know what this is that you are aligned to. So my tip here, as far as like spiritual alignment for this next week, is to really look at what it is that you're bringing to an expression with every word that you say, with every action that you do, with every emotion that you express or don't express. All right, because look, this is the part here that really sets us apart from unconscious people, and that is that you can consciously bring this spiritual energy, okay, this divine energy that flows through you into expression. That is what we are as humans. We have a body, yes, that is relatively unconscious, but we have a consciousness as well. And this is how the solar logos, okay, flows through us. And our job here as conscious beings aligned to these higher spiritual goals is to bring this logos word into expression. All right, in other words, living it, okay, walking the talk. And everywhere you don't walk the talk, guys, you're going to experience resistance. And everywhere you experience resistance is where you're going to experience conflict. And everywhere you experience conflict, internally or externally, is where your energy goes low. All right, and this is sort of the part here that this next week will show you very clearly. Now, energetically, for those of you who want to know how to actively work on this, with these downloads that I mentioned, you're also going to get a lot of visions, okay? So your 6th and 7th chakra are very, very active, okay? And this is all now, helping you to see the larger truth, but it's also bringing forward some of the fantasies and some of the beliefs, okay? And here is where you have to recognize that you cannot actually filter all this out, and most of you are not actually familiar with all these astral realms and beings that are out there. You don't even know which of them are benign or not, and you can't differentiate this, what happens in a vision, if this is actually beneficial for you or if this is just a way to sort of entrap your energy. Therefore, I would just, in general, be very cautious, okay? You have to learn how to discern these energies that are coming in from the outside, and a general way to tell if something is, benign or supportive is that it will never feel intrusive. So any kind of dream or vision that you have where something just comes in and you can't shake it loose, and it forces you to look at things, or it forces you to into experiencing something that you don't want, or it pushes you in a corner, is not benign. That is not friendly, guys. That is a form of etheric bullying. It doesn't matter where it comes from, what you believe in. Okay, that is not okay. That is just like somebody, ramming into your bedroom, and forcing you to do something. This is not okay. In 3D, you wouldn't allow this. Is trespassing. And energetically, in the etheric, it's the exact same thing. So you've got to make sure that you don't align to things or allow things in that are in and of itself not aligned to what your best interest is. And even if you don't know enough about entities and so forth yet, it doesn't matter. Don't think that you can even if you don't know much about entities and beings and all that, you don't need to know everything about this. In fact, I don't even recognize to explore this. Most of us are not equipped to handle this anyway. But you can feel, though, if an energy is generally positive for you, or generally, working towards you, if it's supportive or not. That is what I would recognize, what I would recommend you here for this next week. Another aspect is another aspect is making all that special. Okay, so many of you have visions or inner guidance, that shows maybe, depending, it's not always visually, but it kind of tells you or shows you that you have to live in a different way or at a different place. This doesn't mean that you have to pack your bags and move there right away, or give up everything, or live like a monk, or move into an ashram or whatever. It means that there is something there that is, pulling you into your future, and that all you really need to do is to trust in this. All right, so you don't really need to know all of that, and you don't need to make this special either. The best way to actually feel what is true for you and what brings what brings more meaning into how you can express yourself is to go back to, before, you had all this overlay, and before you externalized your powers, and before other people told you what you need to do, or how, before you saw yourself through other people's eyes. And that is, to go back at the very, very early stage of what you can remember, maybe 5 or 6, and feel into what you wanted to do when you were little. The truth is, most of us pick their profession based on their trauma. Okay, we pick professions that help us to somehow cope with our trauma. Only a few people actually feel this clear calling at a very early age and go into this higher expression, from the beginning of their career. Many people, including myself, have to go through several layers, of career to actually find to, and this is the surprising part, to the very thing that we saw ourselves doing when we were little. I saw myself being a healer when I was little. I just didn't know what this meant. I had no way to contextualize this, and thought I had to do it through pharmacology, or all kinds of other things that I've tried. And I did learn a lot of things there, but never really felt fulfilled. And this is what we can do here in the sense of energetic self-mastery, is to go back to that place and see which part of us has actually never changed. Okay. And when it comes to the profession, and especially the healing profession, unfortunately, this has led to a lot of unhealed healers, a lot of wounded healers out there. And so that's, a big part of my work, as you know, training people in healing professions, but especially training healers, counselors, medical professionals, and so forth, and integrating these energetic principles into their work so that things can have a deeper meaning. It means that we have to really work on, the things that have driven us so far, that, more or less just re-energized our trauma, rather than helping us to find the higher expression. So this karmic purpose that I always talk about has a lot to do with overcoming these unhealed aspects in ourselves, not to endlessly dwell in all of them, but without understanding them and seeing beyond them, it's really difficult to make sense and to give meaning to, our life's learning experiences. All right, so I am wishing that you can enjoy this next week, especially towards the end of the week. And next weekend is going to be glorious, guys. So I'm going to report a little more about this next Sunday, but I really want you to feel into this download, this activation that is coming in with this weekend. We're going to do the energetic tune-up, and enter, so to speak, into this new cycle with a wonderful new energy that is then leading us already into the next cycle, which is the December energies and the year-end energies. guys, I hope that you can enjoy this week as I will. Looking forward to talking to you, Heart Warriors, and looking forward to hearing more from you, Patreons. All right, I have a big surprise for you in December. Again, I'm going to give this opportunity to do the 10-day challenge for free, but this time I'm going to have to work with applicants, so I'm going to need you guys to apply for it. The days of the winter solstice, we're going to do a 3-day cleanse, light fast, as we've done in the past, to guide us through this sacred time in the winter solstice. And then we're going to start with the 10-day challenge right the day after the summer solstice, leading us through these 10 days of Christmas, so to speak, which then leads us to the last day, or better say the first day of the new year and the new vision. All right, I'm going to make an announcement here pretty soon, but I wanted you to know first that you can already time this in if you would like to participate. See you next week, guys. Love you. Thank you for